Well, hello there. What's up?
Hello there.
What's up, Graham? How you doing, man?
I'm okay. How are you?
Doing well. Guess what? It is week's end show number 75. Is that like a milestone or something? I'm not sure.
It is a milestone. Do you know there's music playing in the background? I just want to make sure you know that.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
I'm trying to, increase the production value of this show slowly but surely, and it's only taken
Slowly
us
but
like
surely.
70 some odd episodes to get some ambiance that's fitting of our nerdery.
It's funny because like after 75 of this show, God knows how many other shows we've done.
True.
I can actually see you clearer now, and you look better on camera now than you have ever looked. I don't know what you did, if it's Showtime magic or what, but you look great.
Well,
and what's unusual?
It's weird because I am traveling today, and I'm actually on my smartphone. I'm not even on my laptop, so maybe I don't know if there's like a comparison here, but iPhone 13 Pro versus a MacBook Pro, and you're telling me MacBook Pro is worse? That's kind of weird. And this is the front-facing camera too.
I'm telling you, it's not even comparable. The difference is so great. Maybe it's the lighting, but maybe it's that you've done something incredibly unusual that I've never seen you do. Do you want to know what that is?
And what is that? Tell me.
You're wearing an whatever the hell it is, Avett Brothers T-shirt, and I think a hat. And I've never seen you. I didn't even know you like those guys. I've never seen you do that.
I don't. This may be shocking to you and others, but because of COVID, because of Omicron, they had to postpone their New Year's Eve celebration. So I am celebrating New Year's Eve in Greensboro with thousands of other people at a concert tomorrow night. We're doing a redo.
It's good to be Ryan Boyles and be out there with your private helicopter touring the world. Now, I'm also wearing an unusual T-shirt, and I'd like to take a minute to explain what I'm wearing here.
Who are you wearing?
Who am I wearing? I am wearing a Centennial Celebration T-shirt from YMCA Camp Dakota, and the reason I'm wearing it is this is the actual shirt that I was wearing one of the last times I saw a good friend of mine. His name is Bill Jarvis, and Bill unexpectedly passed away this week. At a very young age of 54, Bill was a tour de force in our organization for decades. He changed a lot of lives. He inspired a lot of people. And he was also one of those people that I could call when I needed somebody who would give me just completely unfiltered, cut through any level of bullshit advice. And Billy was that guy. He was also my cabin leader when I was a kid, and when I was at camp, and he was my son's cabin leader. There he is right there, and there I am in 2011 when we volunteered together. So I lost a friend this week, and we're working hard to celebrate and honor his legacy, and I just wanted to take a minute to mention Billy. I'm going to step off camera for a second before I lose my shit.
Hey man, thank you for sharing that.
I'm good.
What? We need people like that in our lives. I'm so glad you're celebrating his life. He's definitely gone too soon, but I'm touched by just the idea of like people that change your lives is just, honestly, that's the most important thing, especially right now.
Yeah, I'm going to turn my camera off just for a second and cycle it because I think it's I think it's caught back up to me now, so I'm okay. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. So I appreciate you giving me a chance to say that. But let's go through some topics.
Yeah, man. But what do we got first today?
Well, let's see. So one of the first things that we wanted to cover, and by the way, because Ryan is remote and Ryan is our show producer, we normally share images of stuff that we are talking about, but because Ryan's doing this from his hyper global meganet internet device known as a cell phone, we can't do that today. So we're just going to talk. So you can also use
lo-fi, baby. Lo-fi.
We're going to go lo-fi on this one. And if you don't know what we're talking about, just get out there and hit the Googles, and we'll share some images later. The first thing that we wanted to cover this week is something very tall, something very, very strong,
Yeah.
something very handsome, and I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about
Nice.
Artemis 1 moon rocket. So
Yes.
NASA this week rolled out of the vehicle assembly building at Kennedy Space Center the Artemis 1 moon rocket. It is in the light of day. It is assembled as a stack with its SRBs and tank and its module. Everything's there, and it's really exciting because we're going to see. It was funny because earlier today, Ryan, somebody said, like, I don't even know what I'm going to do when they say Artemis 1, your go for launch. And I was like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to start crying. And
Yeah,
it's
man.
really exciting.
It's a big
What do you
deal.
think? What do you think?
It is a big deal. Well, I've been blown away by all the prep. I mean, I feel like this started all the way back when you and I were down at Kennedy. Gosh, what is that? 2, 3 years ago for the
Yeah.
50th of Apollo.
Yeah.
We've talked to so many people that have had some kind of part in, leading up to this mission or getting ready for this mission or now working on the mission. And I was blown away by all the folks that were out there at the pad last night, apparently, for kind of a sneak peek of the rocket on the pad. And they've been rolling it out, for the past few days. And it's just incredible to see it. And it's a massive, massive piece of technology.
It really is. And I know we've had SpaceX and we've had Jeff Bezos' dick rocket, but I mean, we haven't really had a lot since the shuttle retired. And so I'm really, really excited to see Artemis launch. I'm excited for us to go back to the moon. As NASA says, as lots of people have been saying on Twitter today, we are going. And
we are going. Yes.
We are going.
So from We Are NASA, I saw you posted the We Are NASA anthem video this morning
to
get everybody going. And you know what? That does put you in the right mood for this. And the We Are Going mantra is going to be going strong straight up through launch day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, you shared something with me earlier this week. As you know, I am an Adventure Time fan. I loved the comic. I wear a Finn hat in the winter. I mean, the cartoon, excuse me. I wear a Finn hat in the winter. I have for years and years and years since my kids gave it to me. That's not true. I bought it since when they were little. But Raspberry Pi put out something this week that they have created BMO TV. And I love BMO. Tell us about BMO.
Yeah. So BMO was sort of a sidekick that became kind of a beloved figure in the cartoon series, a side character. But honestly, in some of the spinoff stuff that they've done on Netflix recently, he was the main character. So it's thrilling because he's essentially a robot that's like, think of a Game Boy with arms and legs and a cute personality, a green robot. And this Raspberry Pi maker recreated sort of the BMO robot as a shell, and his screen that normally would be his face became, a video screen to play games based on the Raspberry Pi, the Gamer Pi kit that you can use. And it's really, really fun stuff to play with. I've been working on one myself that I'm building a custom shell for. But this one just, it gets you right back in the feels and gets you back into that mathematical kind of mindset from back in the day with Adventure Time.
I love it. That's so exciting. And honestly, dude, the amount of things that you can do with Raspberry Pis is I mean, I remember years and years ago, I came home from work at IBM with a Raspberry Pi. We had them at some event for some reason. I can't remember.
We did, yeah.
Years ago, dude. And I brought one home for my son, and I hooked it up, and I showed him like this tiny little thing is a computer, believe it or not. And like I think he was 8 years old at the time, and I remember, this is true. I hooked it up, got it going, Ethernet, keyboard, connected it to our TV, did all these things. I've got a photograph of this somewhere. I'll have to see if I can find it.
Dig that up, because we're going to talk more about Raspberry Pi on future shows as I progress with my home project. I put out just a random question this week because I started thinking, just like you, I have all of these old Raspberry Pi, the version 3. There's now a version 4 that's a lot beefier, but I've got just a closet full of version B boards. And I was thinking to myself, could you cluster those together in some kind of rack and do something? And lo and behold, I had like 10 people respond to me on Twitter this week and show me how to do it with Kubernetes. So I think I'm going to figure out if that's something cool and then have something like that run in the closet and do, batch up tasks, or I don't know, do something geeky.
I love it. And if you don't call it a clusterfuck, I'll be very disappointed. But anyway,
Yes.
so I set this up for my son, and then I literally set like a tray table with food and snacks and everything. He sat there and coded, I think it was for something like 8 or 10 hours. He literally taught himself how to code. He built these musical, there's like a basic level, I forget the name of it. Opera. It's got some weird, not opera, but it's got some name, the type of language. He learned the language, and then he created this musical number, and he was creating beats and everything. And like, I would literally like bringing him food and literally just keeping him coding. And he's been fascinated by it ever since. He's now in advanced manufacturing and codes. It creates custom programs for very large advanced manufacturing machines. And so from Raspberry Pi to wow,
it's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, those things have inspired, I think, a whole new generation of kids to get into STEM, programs and careers, just like what you're talking about. So that's awesome to hear.
Yeah. All right. Our next thing was a question that I asked on the Twitters about 3 hours ago. We've all worked really hard this week, and I think personally, I think we deserve a treat.
We deserve some fun, Graeme.
There's lots of different kinds of treats, of course, but I'm talking about science fiction treat. And so what I did is I put out 4 choices, and people had to pick which one they would take. So basically what I said was, you get to take your reward for working so hard is you get to take one of these vehicles out for a spin. Which one would you choose? Now the choices are, and I'm very curious to see what you pick. The choices are the Kaneda's motorcycle from Akira.
Yep.
Of course, the iconic red motorcycle, right? The land speeder, the Star Wars land speeder that Solo is operating in the beginning of Solo, a Star Wars story. So it's like that blue one that almost looks like a 70s or something muscle car. The next one is the M577, I believe it is, the armored transport from Aliens.
Yep.
Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can. You're stuttering a bit, but I can still hear you.
And then the last one is Ecto 1.
All right. We have lost.
All right, can you hear me now?
We can, yeah.
Okay, so I'll turn my camera back on in a second. The last one is Ecto 1. So Kaneda's bike, land speeder from Solo, armored transport from Aliens, or Ecto 1. Ryan, which one would you want to ride to or take out for a spin to celebrate your hard week at work or at the beach or wherever you are?
You know what? The criteria for this for me was, what could you have the most fun with? I want to drive all these vehicles, and they all have their own sort of nerdy factor to them. I was going to go with the APC from Aliens, but honestly, that just doesn't seem like a lot of fun to take out on the weekend. So I am going with the land speeder from Solo.
So that's an interesting choice. So I really thought I worked hard to pick these 4 images. I didn't just randomly Google stuff and put these in. I love Kaneda's bike. It is awesome, especially if you're fighting gangs of clown riders. But of course, it's really for one person. A motorcycle's a little crazy, even though I'm an ATV rider. So that one's my 4th choice. My next choice was Ecto 1, because when you're driving along and you're talking about the end of the world and you're smoking cigarettes and drinking beer, what do you want to be driving? Ecto 1, right? Just like Winston and Ray were. You can see that. So,
and after it was featured in the new movie, I mean, Afterlife. Oh my gosh, like that was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. So that's my 3rd choice, believe it or not, even though I'm a hardcore Ghostbusters fan. My second choice was the APC, and the reason for that is because you could throw a party back there, baby.
There's you could.
Screens or seats.
Also, well, here's another thing. If it came with the drop ship, like I always wanted to pilot that drop ship. That was the coolest thing.
All right, if it came with the drop ship, that would have been number one.
If that would have been number one for me, if we could have included that. But yeah.
Okay, but it doesn't come with the drop ship, so that's still my number 2. My number 1, same as you, land speeder from Solo. Why? Yes. Because that thing is awesome. It looks cool. It looks like it would be a ton of fun to operate. You could take a friend with you, baby. And I mean, I don't even know. Maybe there's a droid. Maybe there is. Maybe there isn't. I don't know. So those are my choices. So Kaneda, number 4.
All right.
Ecto, number 3.
We need to do virtual high five for great minds think alike here, my friend. Wabam.
Okay. Nice. All right. So the next one is this was an interesting question, and this was another thing that I gave a lot of thought to, which was a G4 TV asked, What's the most underrated video game ever? Underrated, right? So I thought a lot about this. Like, was it a sequel to some game? I've got my Game Boy here. Or was it something on the NES? Was it a PC game? Was it some platform game? I don't know what it was, but I put a lot of thought into this. I have an answer, but I want to know your answer first. What is your most underrated video game ever? And I kind of qualify that not just as like what's a great game that didn't get the accolades. I think of it more like I don't really know anyone else that plays this game, and I absolutely love it.
Well, put on the spot, I probably didn't put as much thought into this, but I think a lot about the games I used to play on the Commodore 64 back when I was a kid in junior high school when I first got into computers. And I remember the Aliens game. So here's a bit of irony back to the vehicle discussion. There was a brilliant game that was about the Aliens film, and it recreated a lot of the plot, but in completely different ways. So it wasn't just a side scroller. There was puzzles, there was boss battles, there's a lot of stuff. And there was a variety. So it wasn't like one genre of game. And I really do think it was underrated.
I think that's a good one. And I like that you're going kind of back a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like what year do you think that was?
I mean, gosh, this had to be like 87. I mean, the film came out in 86.
Yeah.
So I want to say 87, 88, probably.
Okay. So for me, mine, and I'm sure people who know me won't be surprised by this at all. Mine is one that I've talked about before several times on Twitter. It was released originally on August the 26th, 2003, and it is a PC game, Tron 2.0, which if you have not played Tron 2.0, it's available on Steam. It might be free. It might be like $5 or $10 or something. I highly recommend it, folks. Now, this is a game that right now holds up beautifully. It is a first-person shooter. You really get the sense of being on the grid. It has an amazing soundtrack, amazing like sound effects. The visuals are incredible. I wish somebody would actually release it on. I wish I could play it in virtual reality because it is an absolutely stunning game. So Tron 2.0 to me is an underrated game. I know very few people that have played it. Travis, if you're watching, I'm sure you have. But I don't know a lot of people that have played it. What about you? You ever played it?
I have not, but I saw the box art that you shared on your Twitter, and it really piqued my interest. It also made me think of another Twitter conversation we had, gosh, a week ago, where I was thinking you could take it. What year were you thinking for that one? What about?
What year was it
as well? Yeah,
2004.
2004. All right. Well, regardless, they're going back to the Raspberry Pi. You can flash so many games and do things like they've released the mini PlayStations and all that stuff we've talked about before. I think it's a brilliant idea to surface these underrated games, but flash the entire series of a game. So imagine all the Star Wars games released on a system, or all the Tron games, or all the, you name it. It would be nice to have a collection on a device that you could play the whole chronology of like Metal Gear or something like that. I think that'd be a really unique concept for a homebrew console.
I love that. I think that's a great idea. All right, our next topic was I want to actually show it. So in '86, when this graphic novel was released, my good friend Gavin Morris, who is a comic book collector, he is on the Twitters at G7 Morris. Great guy, super creative. Very good friend growing up in Northampton, Massachusetts. By the way, I don't know if you know this, Northampton, Massachusetts, greatest city on earth. But anyway, we lived like right across the park from each other. We went to the same thing, same schools together, Jackson Street Elementary. And I used to read comics, all the time. And he had this like crazy collection. And he introduced me to a graphic novel in 1986 that arguably changed my view of comics forever. And it's Frank Miller's classic, The Dark Knight Returns. And I actually just bought this because I don't even know the last time I read it. I'm going to turn my camera off again for a second. Give me a second here.
Yep. I hear you.
So I bought a new copy of it. I don't even know the last time I read it. And first of all, it's as amazing now as it ever was. But it got me thinking. It got me thinking about what if they made a movie or a series? It would probably be better as like a Netflix series, right?
I would argue it
So
could be a good series.
it could be a great series. And I reached out to you, Casey, Gavin, of course, and my buddy Roby at Bridgewater State University. Go Bears. I asked you guys, what do you think would be a great cast? All of you had great suggestions, yourself included. But I got to tell you, Gavin's suggestion was as good as I think it can get. So here's what he suggested, and I read this, and I mean, it literally was like yes. Josh Brolin and Eric Dane as Batman. Florence,
I like that.
P-U-T-H. How do you say Florence's name? I don't know.
I think Q.
Q.
Uh-huh.
As Robin. I love that. I think she'd be great as Robin. Jake Gyllenhaal as the Joker. Perfect. Andrew Scott as Two-Face Harvey Dent. Perfect. I want to go back a second. Josh Brolin. I love that.
Yes.
Jeff Bridges as the Green Arrow. Definitely. This I thought was brilliant. Dave Bautista as Superman.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. And have Denis Villeneuve direct it. I mean, phone drop, case closed. He nailed it. The rest of
the
you
the director is an interesting pick too, and I that one makes you think like, what if that really would be cool.
Yep, and yours was good. Bruce Willis as Batman, Millie Bobby Brown as Carrier Robin. Yep. I thought that was brilliant. Aaron Paul as Joker. That was an interesting choice. Guy Pearce as Harvey Dent and Two-Face. Guy Pearce would be amazing. I love Guy Pearce. Huge LA Confidential fan. Woody Harrelson as Green Arrow. Genius. And Sam Neill as Superman. Bold and brash. I like it. Bold and brash.
A lot of good ideas. I mean, you see that there was a Dark Knight animated series, which somebody pointed out, but not quite the same thing as live action. And I would argue that, there have been some great voice acting from stars we would know on some of the Batman animated series that I'm a fan of, but I would like to see this in live action.
Yeah. Absolutely. I to me, it feels like the Batman film we've all been waiting for forever. And considering they keep reinventing it anyway, like, I'm not going to say what happens in the Dark Knight Returns, but like, it doesn't matter. Just make it. Like,
well, and
I do think it'd be better as a series. I'd like to see it.
It allows us to see a different time, maybe a different timeline even, but just seeing another chapter that's not like continually reinventing the origin story is really what resonates there.
Yeah. Why? What are you talking about? The origin story? Why? What happened? Something happened to his parents? Oh no! God. I hope his parents are okay. Anyway, so the Dark Knight Returns, folks. If you haven't read it, you can get it super cheap on Amazon. Highly recommend you read it. And just to be clear, what we're talking about, if they were to make it, is live action, not animated. I know the animated one has already happened, so that ship has sailed.
Yep.
Next topic is the trailer that is undoubtedly not safe for work. There's a little bit of sex and violence in it. Came out. Now I'm distracted. Came out this week, and for Boys 3. So The Boys season 3. If you haven't seen that yet, go to at The Boys TV on Twitter, or just go to the YouTubes and check it out. Wow. I cannot wait to see this. Wow.
I've been wanting. And for me, it's like punishment because I like the wait between some of these seasons is frankly pretty brutal. I mean, you can name a lot of series where they take too long between chapters, and I'm ready for it, man. I'm psyched.
Yeah. What's wrong with you people? Can't you? We are more important than anything else. You got to faster, right? Yeah. I mean, obviously, if it was you, I mean, making television and movies is simple. You and I could do it.
Well, riddle me this. Don't you like? I started just as an aside. I started rewatching Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I don't know why this week. I do know why. It's the 25th anniversary of the premiere on live TV on whatever back in the day. That was this week. I was looking at it, and that's back when TV was like 22 episodes a season, or the pilot season would be like
Oh, yeah,
16
that's
or
true.
18 episodes. And so in some of those series that would go on, Buffy went on for 7, X-Files went on for 12 or 13. Think about 22 episodes versus what do we get on these, like 8, maybe 10 if we're lucky.
If we're lucky.
It's a different time. So it really, I know things move faster and people don't have quite the same attention span, but these are things that the source material is so rich from the comic book that they really could do a lot.
They could. They really, really could. And so I'm really excited about season 3. Folks, if you haven't seen that teaser trailer yet, holy shit, go look at that.
Yeah, darken the lights, pour yourself a glass of wine or whatever you're into, and brace yourself.
Or whatever you're into, edibles. It doesn't matter. So before I get to my homework of the evening, because it's been a bit of a week for me, where are you again? What are you doing?
I'm in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Isn't that where like the government was supposed to go if there was a nuclear war? Isn't there like? Oh no, that's Greenbrier.
Virginia. So here's a fun fact. I was born in Greensboro. So it's in the Triad. We're going to the Coliseum tomorrow night to do a New Year's Eve redo.
Greensboro.
So, yeah.
Oh wait a minute. Isn't that where they dropped isn't that where the atomic bomb hit, but it didn't detonate when there was a plane crash? Wasn't that
what? I don't know. You might have to Google that. I don't know about that.
Hold on. I know.
It does have a rich history of other things. I mean, this is where the civil rights movement began, at the Woolworth counter, where there was the sit-in by the 4 African American,
Well, that story is more important than an atomic bomb.
So when you're talking about like February with Black History Month, if you don't know this story, there's a whole museum where they replicated the Woolworths in downtown Greensboro. That's amazing.
So that was there?
Oh, yeah.
God, dude, my education was so piss poor with that stuff that I always thought it was much further down south. I'm going to go read about that. I know exactly what you're talking about, the Woolworth counter, and I'm going to go read about that. So thank you for mentioning that. What I was talking about was Goldsboro.
Okay, yeah. So Goldsboro is
on the coast, Air Force.
There's an Air Force base. It's near Fayetteville, which honestly, that whole part of the eastern part of the state is just Marines. You've got Camp Lejeune. You've got everything. You've got lots and lots of military presence. This is like the Mecca.
Got it. Well, listen, man, I'm going to cycle my camera here again. I don't know what's happening to my computer. I think it just wants to check out for the weekend.
Tink. Is this thing on?
Yeah, it just wants to pour itself a drink. I think it's done for
That's okay. I think it's trying to tell you something, Graham. I think it's time to wind down your week. It's time to whirl up your weekend and maybe end this week's in on a high
note.
What
back, do you think? Have a few brews. Yeah, baby. Watch some of the sports ball.
Yes, sir.
I don't know. Whatever you kids do these.
But you know what? Like this has been a wild and wacky week, so I'll give you that one.
It has been. Well, that's it for the show. So, folks, thanks for joining us. Great to see all of you as always. The last thing I'll say, which I'll connect to the first thing I was talking about, which is if you've been meaning to call someone and you haven't been making that call, make the call.
I think you're right about that.
I wish I had, a couple of weeks ago, I had a thought to call Billy. I wish I had done that. I will now regret that forever. And so life comes at you pretty fast, as Ferris Bueller said in The Art of Life, according to Ferris Bueller. And it's true. So if there's somebody you've been meaning to call, pick up the phone, call. Don't text, call them. And in the meantime, I hope you all have a good weekend. And Ryan, have fun.
Yes, sir. I will.
There in Greensboro, and be safe, please, with everything you're doing.
Yes, sir.
And I look forward to episode 76 next week, baby.
Yeah. Woo! See you next time, folks. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.